The timing.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another installment of TEDXcellence, the show in which I occasionally rope somebody else in to my self-inflicted madness. And we come to you live from my Corona bunker on the moon! With Dog, Cat, Fox, a Pepperjack, and joining me today, the timely Sinatra Says.
Yo.
Hello, Sinatra.
I'm excited and happy that you have me here. Thank you.
Well, I am both happy and excited to have you here as well. And you know who else is excited to see you here?
Who's that?
That would be Asian Hippie, hello. Avi, hello. Slapper360, hello. St. Michael, hello. Point Curation, thank you so much. It's time to duet. I Vercingetorix, hello. Aloysius Fudpucker, hello. Dark Alile, hello. Tall Person, hello. Raziel, hello. Mike Savage, Blard. Anthrax Allen, hello. Jordan Herbert, hello. Mr. Joestar, hello. Wade Willison, hello. Let's see who's next. Mata Winter, hello. Chaos X, hello. Pink Kyle, the Driving Ape Man, thank you so much. It says 15 minutes late, must be a Sanutsi guest stream. Yeah, people had you pegged. Pretty much.
I'm not drunk. I'm always on time except for this.
Yeah, okay. Sean Uli, hello. Lycan King 018, hello. Attack Alpaca, hello. Megan Ring, hello. Psycho Rick, hello. Spyro Girl, I always screw that up for some reason. Jordan 250, hello. John Smith, hello. Dina B, hello. Mike R, hello. Matt Barnes, hello. Elish Norn, hello. Absolutely Degenerate, hello. Chicago Mike, hello. Keeverdam, hello. Jeb Duke, hello. Brad Young, hello. Zalbla, hello. Aether Toast, hello. Red V7, hello. Joys of Sorrow, hello. Roger Reynolds, hello. Shadow Sonata, hello. Boy, I'm going to be here all day. Brutus, hello. Ecto Merc, hello. That one servant of Satania, hello. Drac von Dracarius, hello. Ophelia the Fappy Red Panda, hello. Green Death, hello. The One Ton Hammer, hello. This is Kyle, thank you so much. Hello, chat people, Scribbles, and Sinatra. Hi, Kyle.
Hello.
Frosted Glass, hello. Fernanda, hello. Super McFluffykins, hello. Functional, hello. Patrice, and the thing jumped on me. Patrice Ripley, hello. Oh boy, Revnedix, hello. Twisted Skipster, hello. Jordan Edwardson, thank you so much. Happy birthday, Sanute, and hi, Stripe. Is it your birthday?
It's always my birthday.
Oh, right, never mind.
Except next Wednesday when it actually is my birthday.
Oh, all right. Jaeger Pony, hello. Random American, hello. Purple Pill Perspective, hello. Your boy, Pat, hello. Dos Vidania Tavarish, I don't read Cyrillic, so hello. And the original Shroom, hello. And I'm going to stop there. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Thursday. Terabad Thursday or something. Yeah, so this is a very special occasion. I get to duet with Sinatra Says. I'm going to try to do more of these as I can arrange them. And yeah, so I haven't, if you'll notice, and some of you who have been here a while may notice, I didn't put the link to the original in the description. I didn't even put the title of the actual talk in the title because I wanted to keep this as a surprise so that Sinatra would have no preparation whatsoever for what we're going to talk about today. Now, admittedly, this is a relatively short TEDx at about 9 or 10 minutes, but given that both he and I will be talking, trust me, we'll pad it out.
Oh, yeah.
But what are we actually talking about today? Well, the title of today's presentation is called Solving the Achievement Gap Through Equity, Not Equality.
Oh, boy.
And the title alone caught my attention because, it at least tangentially refers to education, which is something I'm always interested in looking at, and also equity, not equality. Like someone who wants to promote the lack of equality, I'm always curious to know what the argument is.
Yeah, I want to know. I wonder what the argument's going to be for not treating people the same, but guaranteeing them the same outcome.
Yeah, and the achievement gap between whom is the other thing, I guess, is the question. But now, also those of you who were listening yesterday, I did not get around, unfortunately, to editing or revising the bingo card. So the link in the description is to the current version. However, as a mental note, the square that reads gratuitous pausing for effect, I'll be revising and mentally revising for this episode as melodramatic pausing for effect. Gratuitous is a bit too subjective. Melodrama, choking back tears. It's difficult to talk. That kind of stuff. That's much more discernible. So as we proceed, just remember that's melodramatic pausing for effect. Otherwise, the card remains the same. Keep your eyes and ears open for anything that might hit on there, and we will see if we can fill it. Can we fill it out? Can we get a bingo by the halfway point? We did it yesterday, just about. Yesterday we got a double bingo.
Oh,
it was madness. If yesterday's, I was bowled over by how insane yesterday's presentation was.
I missed that one, but
dude, if you can imagine a scenario where it's a positive thing to be held at gunpoint and let the guy go because you feel sorry for him, and then go to therapy yourself and never go after the guy, that's how that talk went.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a very diplomatic way of putting it. All right then, guys. Chicago Mike, thank you so much. Took the day off work for this. Is it worth it? Yes, it totally is. I guarantee. This guarantee is not applicable in 50 states. The Gays person on YouTube, thank you so much. I slept in the stairwell since the last TEDx, so I ain't paying for a ticket this time. Wow.
That's dedication.
The Gays person on YouTube is definitely a dedicated viewer. All right, guys, all that is preamble. I'm going to start off with a few seconds for a sound test. You guys tell me if you can hear it, and then we will proceed.
Consider a student that's 19, is a fifth-year graduate, and considered to be at risk.
Whoa, that was a sudden opening. Okay, 15, what'd she say? 19, fifth-year graduate, and at risk. At risk for what? I don't know. Thank you, tall person. Happy National Prosciutto Day, everybody.
Prosciutto?
I know that's an Italian something. I don't know what it is.
It's a lunch meat.
Oh, okay. This is how often I have prosciutto. Thank you, tall person. All right. So yeah, that's what I am. 19 years old, fifth-year graduate, returning student into a career at that point, and at risk. Okay. Dr. Lindsay. Oh, she's a doctor. A doctor of what? I always ask.
Dr. Lindsay Utt.
Utter. Okay.
The student has an extremely low GPA.
Okay.
And is what teachers like to refer to as a challenge in the classroom.
So an underachiever, perhaps a learning disability, or lazy. A fifth-year graduate, did she say? Or fifth-year student?
I don't understand that part.
19 years old, so you're still in high school at that point, presumably. Or unless, well, I don't know. I guess it depends on where.
Can we already circle leaves out vital context?
Well, you have to. I always give them the chance because, if they start out with a story, maybe they'll get there. So I can't circle it until they move on from that and don't return to it or something.
Which really means that they're a terror. Judging by our current education system, this student appears to be a failure.
Appears would be putting it lightly. If they're fifth year, wait, if they're 19 and a fifth year, I'm thinking to myself, okay, 19 minus 5 is 4. What grade are they in? What grade are they remaining in at that point?
Okay, what is fifth-year graduate? That means they're in their fifth year of school, right? Fifth-year
graduate. I don't. Maybe I'm misunderstanding that term.
Well, okay. Considering the context that she is saying it's a bad kid, I'm going to say she's still talking about high school.
Yeah, and somebody's been held back we'll say at least once, I guess. I don't know if anybody in the chat knows what a fifth-year graduate, what that equates to, because I'm obviously misunderstanding, because that doesn't make any sense to me that somebody who should have moved on from 14, wherever they were, to, okay.
Well, in reality, this student went on to attend a prestigious culinary program and became very successful.
Culinary is not academic. I mean, good for them. Don't get me wrong. That's great that they found their calling and they're able to find a career and everything. That's not something to tout as an educational achievement. A skills achievement, sure. Trade achievement, yes. And that's not to say that there isn't some, education that's involved in culinary arts and such. But all the same, you're not really making a point there. Thank you. Brian has opinions, formerly the Broken Baller. This woman is a failure. Hey, Sanute.
Hello.
Johnny Hellcat, guessing fifth year senior. That fifth-year senior at 19? I mean, was he Doogie Howser at 14 and then went brain dead?
2 hours ago, Point Curation threw $2 to say, $1 for you and Scribe because you get what you fucking deserve. Thank you. 2 hours. Wow.
Okay, so in her first anecdote, a student that failed in school went on to become a chef. Like,
I think she means fifth year senior. Like he should have graduated last year, but fucked up.
Okay. Oh, all right. Maybe that makes sense. All the same, I don't know that she really made a zinger there with that last bit.
As a beginning teacher, I thought that I would walk into a classroom and I would have lots of eager students and careful lesson plans and assessments. And I would grade
that count
all
as
my
word
students.
salad?
No, not until she doesn't. Not until she says something that just
circle
doesn't make any sense. Yeah, just hold on, hold your horses. We're only 41 seconds in. That's not to say that we can't circle something, but we'll just hold your horses.
It's based on how well they did on those assessments.
Uh-huh.
Everything would be based on equality. I read all the research on learning styles and how to teach.
I doubt you read all the research.
She read all of it. Every single research.
Yeah, every single page, every single word. I'm sure you did. Okay.
All the way up to the newest instructional texts. What I almost immediately found out is that reality almost never matches the textbooks.
You only found that out then? Really? Only then? Interesting.
Okay, can you pull that back 5 seconds? Because the textbook thing really gave me a little whiplash.
Okay.
What I almost immediately found out is that reality almost never matches the textbooks.
Yeah, weird how that works.
Yeah.
Just like grades almost never match students.
It depends on how you structure the testing. And also, I mean, it can in the sense that if a student studies and does their best, they will likely get a better grade than if they don't. Now, a bad grade does not necessarily indicate a bad student. It could be a learning thing. It could be a comprehension thing. Every student is different. So you're right. An F on a paper does not equate to a F student necessarily, but it is an indicator that something isn't working.
Yeah.
And either it's the student or it's the teacher, one of the two, or both.
Yeah, a lot of it is just knowledge retention and the ability to not freak out during a test.
Yeah, and it depends on the test, too. Is it a test that's just the regurgitation of things that have been taught? Is it a test that requires using the material that you've been given to solve or answer a different kind of question? I mean, it all depends on how you structure the testing and what's being graded. But at the end of the day, it's just it is effectively just an arbitrary marker of your ability to fulfill the task put in front of you. After that, yeah, it comes down to individual interaction between the teacher and the student and sort of assessing, like she said, all these things. It's like, yeah, it's life is different than what they told you in school. Is that really a shocker to you? I guess it was. I don't know.
So let's consider two students that I've taught.
Okay.
The first is a 15-year-old student who is ahead of state requirements for graduation.
37th year graduate.
The student lives in a 2-parent home in the suburbs and drives to school every day.
Just say he's white.
Right now, the student is taking college classes while working to improve ACT scores.
So a very hardworking student. Okay.
That's what it sounds like.
I might also wager that the word privileged is somewhere in the background, but not spoken, so we can't circle that one yet.
The student wants to get a full academic scholarship and become an environmental engineer.
Okay.
The second student is a bit behind in state requirements for graduation, but is very persistent in working towards a diploma.
Okay.
The student wants to be a cosmetologist.
Okay.
But has faced more than a fair share of it.
That? I know you have to go to special classes, but I don't remember if you need a diploma.
I don't think you go to, I don't think you go to college for that. I thought you'd go like effectively a trade school, wouldn't you?
You got to get it. I know there are college courses for it, but to get a license, I don't know.
Yeah, I never pursued that.
Do we have a cosmetologist out there, or licensed cosmetics, whatever?
Or someone who knows, just referentially? Let us know in the chat.
Yeah.
The student wants to be a cosmetologist.
Right.
But has faced more than a fair share of adversity.
Like?
The student lives in an extended stay hotel with multiple other adults and struggles to find transportation.
I would get that student out of there immediately. That sounds awful.
Yeah, if we're talking about students in the same grade, effectively, and we're talking about a 15-year-old, Child Protective Services, something. That's ridiculous, first and foremost. But okay, yeah, you've got two different kids growing up under completely different circumstances. All right. It's a terrible world we live in.
So the way I thought I would teach, I would have both of these students in my classroom. I would give them the same work. They would be assessed on the same standards. All of this to level the playing field for these two students.
That's no. If you're the teacher and you know these things, you have to approach them differently. Each student. Okay.
Yeah, each student is different. You want to argue for specialized teaching, not equal teaching, in the hopes of anyway.
Yeah, I mean, now, admittedly, when you get to the college level, this is how I've always seen this kind of education. Oh, real quick, I thank you, Red V7. I dated a Cosmo. It's a yearly certification after a course. Right. I didn't know that you needed to go to college for that necessarily. Drew W, thank you so much. Still has to graduate high school for trade school. That's true. That's true. Okay. Here's how I've always seen the different levels of education. In K through 12, the teacher has to engage with the student in order to facilitate better learning. Because more often than not, the student isn't going to self-initiate that kind of stuff. Some do, many don't. And it's up to the teacher to facilitate that because the kids are still learning how to learn. When you get to college, it's up to the student to initiate with the material and the professor. Because at that point, you're expected as an adult to take control of your own destiny and move on from that. It's kind of that transitionary period between stages in school. So at this point, if she's talking about 15-year-old kids in junior high school, you have to set the standard is the same, but that doesn't mean you approach each student exactly the same. That's not that you don't allow for some not leeway as far as like giving them an easier ride or something, but maybe somebody needs more attention. Maybe you need to, I don't know, if you know a kid literally is living in a hellhole, like maybe call the authorities.
Stay hotel with a bunch of adults.
Yeah, an extended stay hotel with a bunch of adults. Like, why is that going on? And that's a whole other issue. In fact, at that point, I'd say completing school is probably the last concern versus getting that kid into a safe environment.
Yeah, that's bad.
Because it's not going to matter how well you teach that kid if they're going home and have no room, space, ability, or God knows what else is going on to actually focus on their work. So, but you have to set the standard as a standard. Otherwise, what's the point? Okay, anyway, preaching.
In reality, what this does is it really magnifies the differences in these two students.
Their differences will always be there. Every student is different. Magnifies what somebody's going to be made to feel bad. Lady, that's magnifies the differences. So, are you going to lower? And I'm just prognosticating here. Are you going to lower the standard for the one student because they're in a worse situation so that they get the same outcome as the, I guess, better off student who does harder work?
Man, that's a rough one.
I mean, no, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to be like cold-hearted here.
Well, but, I think if anything, I'd be more cold than that. That kid needs to get the fuck out of that hotel room first.
Well, I mean, that's and why are we focusing on that? Because she's put this into the story, and that takes precedent beyond anything dealing with how they feel or their educational outcome or anything else. Because no matter what you do, as long as they are living like I don't even know what, a vagabond, effectively. Yeah, they're not going to achieve anything. It doesn't matter what their dreams are or anything else if they're stuck in that situation. So first and foremost, you got to get them out of that. And that's not, I mean, the teacher might discover this and then facilitate some kind of solution maybe, but it's not the teacher's responsibility to solve that problem per se. I mean, recognize it, maybe act as an advocate for that kid. Don't get me wrong, I understand that elementary school teachers and professors as well, they wear a lot of hats, not beyond just being an educator, especially when you're dealing with kids or kids that have troubles and stuff like that.
I think, and this is just me pontificating, but I think that if the kid is staying at a hotel, the kid doesn't really have an advocate. Mm-hmm. So the teacher might need to step in and be like, this is the situation. This is what's going on. This is what I know.
Yeah.
What scares me is what I don't know. So somebody needs to look into this.
Yeah. Thank you, Johnny Hellcat. Quote, everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid, unquote. This teacher clearly hasn't heard this. I mean, if she were talking about just two kids who were like doing differently in school, but still had effectively stable households, maybe. But right now she's mentioned something that is beyond the scope of just, oh, one kid is more overachieving than the other one. So I know we're dwelling on this, but this is her anecdote. So I'm curious to know where she takes this or what she did in this situation, given the circumstances.
Everyone knows the results of equal education. You've all heard of the achievement gap.
Well, not that often, but I've heard of it. But you need to quantify what you mean by achievement gap. I mean, there are kids who have different learning styles or ambitions, and there are kids who, like you've mentioned, are in completely different circumstances to help usher them along through an education. So it sounds like an umbrella term for a lot of complex things, which, we never see these days.
An achievement gap occurs when one group of students scores higher than another when they're grouped by gender, race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status.
No. I mean, if you want to look at differentials between demographics and say there's a gap, and then call that like inherently a problem, like boys do this collectively on average and girls do this collectively on average, and then rich people do this collectively. Yeah, there's always going to be a gap. There's always going to be a differential of 1% or 0.5% or 30%. That's not an achievement gap. That's just difference. You're smushing over a whole bunch of stuff. And what about the kid living in the hotel room? That's got nothing to do with whether he's a boy or a girl. Now, the poor part, sure. If you want to talk about economic differentials, like poor kids do worse than well-off kids
White
and middle-class
kids.
kids. Yeah, sure, that too. I mean, if you want to start talking about that, all right. But okay, this is getting close to the God of the gaps theory of statistical analysis, where it's like, I'm going to show you that there's a differential between two demographics, not explain what various elements might go into that, but just show that there's a difference, and you can infer that there's some kind of moral crime taking place.
I think this will about sum it up. Where is it?
Uh-oh.
Are
Soundboard
so poor, and they are so black.
Oh, Wolf! Why would you do that?
That's right, Wolf Blitzer.
Katrina.
Wolf Blitzer. Yeah, that's right. All right.
Equality reinforces that achievement gap by imposing the same standards and norms on really different groups of people.
Okay, so all right, let's live in her world for a second. So equal opportunity is bad, right? Setting a standard for everyone, regardless of your circumstances, is bad. So what is your alternative? I can only imagine.
Equity, on the other hand, would close that achievement gap by giving the needed support and support structures to those very different groups.
You have to
I circled equity.
Yeah, no, you're right. And so guys, we're starting on the card. Free space is circled and equity is circled because it was spoken. Let's review the card real quick just to make sure that we haven't missed something. And again, I reach for specificity and try not to go for trying to give too much credit where credit isn't due yet. Attempt to coin new buzzword, buzz phrase. I haven't heard anything new yet. Word salad. Everything she said so far has made sense. It hasn't been like completely mind-boggling per se. I mean, her implications or conclusions might, but we'll see. Systemic institutional, I don't think she's used either phrase yet, or she probably will at some point. Patriarchy, no. Plays victim, not herself, no, not yet. Wage gap, not wage gap, but
not yet.
Childhood or family anecdote, not her own. That's always the important part. Anecdote that probably never happened. I can believe everything she said so far about those two student scenarios, but nothing sounds like impossible or too good to be true kind of thing. School to prison pipeline, we might get there. Privilege hasn't been mentioned yet. White supremacy, no. A list. I
feel one coming.
I think she might give us a list of steps kind of thing. Toxic, no. Make something about race, sex, etc. for no reason. We'll have to see. I mean, she's already brought up all these different demographics, etc. We'll have to see where she goes with that.
I feel a list a coming.
Yeah, and probably so. Microaggressions, conscious bias, not yet. Leaves out vital context. I'm getting close to if she doesn't follow up on that kid in the hotel room story. Self-vilification or wretchedness. I have a feeling she's not going to make herself a terrible person, but you never know. She might say, "I know in my position as a white woman," etc. Then, benevolent condescension. I'm sure we will get to that before the end of this. Marginalization. I could see her saying it. Feminism, not yet. Takes credit for something done by others in their demographic, not yet. Mind reading assumes motives. We might get there. And melodramatic pausing for effect, not yet, if we get there. Thank you, Drew W. Why is pushing for equity in home life like two-parent homes is seen as racism? What? I don't know if I understood that one, Drew. Am I misreading that?
Well, she mentioned suburbs and all that, so I think she's trying to draw it to the fact that this person is disenfranchised, has to live in a hotel room, blah, blah, blah.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. All right. So equality of equality of opportunity, standardized expectations, regardless of your demographic, age, bad. Somehow thinking that you don't treat different kids in different circumstances and make allowances, not necessarily lowering standards, but structuring a lesson plan around their circumstances. I mean, I can't imagine. This is the pepper jack starting to hit my brain. I can't remember how many times a teacher in my history, in my personal education, would take into account some kid's life situations. There was a kid in my 7th grade class that because her father had been injured on the job, she had to have a part-time job right after school to help support the family. And so the teacher allowed this student to turn in their homework a day later to allow for the extra time. She still had to make the same, she had to hit all the same marks. She had to finish the same work, but the teacher used their and I'm suddenly forgetting the word, discretion, that's the word I was looking for, to give the kid a break. But it wasn't that they were giving them a bigger advantage because this kid was going off to work every day. It wasn't like they were giving extra time to do the work. They're effectively getting the same amount of time. It was just taking into account their life circumstances. And they were still expected to do the same work as everybody else, but, you adjust for the kid if you know their situation. That's not changing the expectation. That's just changing, being a human being. That's all. Anyway, I could go on.
Equality and equity are not synonymous.
Well, I suppose equity is a synonym of justice, fairness, and equality is, fairness. They actually are synonymous. You guys, over the last 4 or 5 years, have decided to redefine equity as equality of outcome rather than just fairness in general. You could have a few years ago just said equity and egalitarianism are pretty much running along the same lines. Not anymore. Not anymore. Thank you, John Miller. And yet teachers don't get why parents blame them. It all depends on the teacher. Teachers who decide to make themselves the parent in the absence of parents. And thank you, GW. Teachers unions don't allow for different teaching styles. It would show that school choice would be better for Americans.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's fair too. All right.
Equality is giving everybody a size 10 pair of shoes. Some people are going to be really excited about the size 10 pair of shoes unless you don't wear a size 10.
That's a terrible analogy.
Yeah, that's retarded.
That's not equality of opportunity. Anyway.
Equity is giving everyone a pair of shoes that fits.
No. I mean, unless you're saying that the pair of shoes is like, I don't know, a job or something. I guess everybody has an opportunity to get a job. Not all the jobs fit, and everybody's going to make it. Oh, you know what? That's life, right? If everybody gets a pair of shoes that fit, well, that means that everybody found the job that they're in, but they're not all the same pair of shoes, are they? I don't even know if that analogy works either. My brain is just like a pair of shoes. Like what?
That don't make it no sense.
You know what? Word salad. I tried. Okay. I really tried to logic my way through that, but no, word salad. And I'll give her till the end of the talk to get back to the kid in the hotel room. But if she doesn't, yeah.
In order to close the achievement gap, we have to give every student a pair of shoes that fits. And that.
Okay. If you're talking about using your discretion as a teacher to allow for different learning abilities or life circumstances, and you're going to adjust the size of the shoe, but it's all still the same shoe, then sure, within reason. But that's not what you're talking about. That is not what you're talking about. At least that doesn't seem what you're talking about.
We have to give every student a pair of shoes that fits. And that means designing curriculum and instruction for each individual student and their personal challenges.
Yes, but they still have to achieve the same marks.
She accidentally got herself halfway there.
Yeah. Now, if she starts telling us that she's going to start adjusting the expectations or the ultimate, like, what qualifies as an outcome, well, then they're in trouble. But okay, she said something that, at least in spirit, was what I was talking about. Thank you, Drew W. She has the analogy of shoes backwards. Maybe she's a clubfoot. I don't know. It's difficult to say.
So let's go back to my two students.
Yes, please.
The way education works now, both of these students are expected to come to school and sit in a class for 120 hours over the course of a year or a semester.
Yeah.
And they complete coursework that's aligned to a set of standards that are developed by an outside agency.
Yeah.
On the most basic level of just showing up for school, you can really see the difference in these two students.
Yeah, which is why the core of the problem, that kid's home life, needs to be addressed first and foremost, because nothing's going to be achieved so long as they're living out of a hotel room.
Yeah, you can't do schoolwork when there's 32 adults and one. Yeah, that's not.
And who knows what else is going on in that situation?
Yeah, that makes me really uncomfortable.
Yeah, that sounds really gross, actually. Thank you, Picala Driving 8 Man. What is the socioeconomic cost of the shoes? Well, now, are we talking Prada or are we talking Reebok? I don't know.
For the engineer, showing up to school is really easy. Transportation, a hot breakfast, clean clothes, all of that stuff has already been provided. Yeah,
provided by who? You mean the parents that work to earn all that stuff? Like it's just it's like manna from heaven or something. But anyway.
For the cosmetologist, just the act of showing up to the building requires a huge expenditure of energy and resources. And once in the classroom, those differences get even larger when the students have to start completing assignments.
But wait a second, you said the first kid, the suburb kid, had gone all over the map in pursuing their goal. They've taken extra classes, early running start or whatever, and so on and so on and so on. That kid's not being a lazy bum or anything. I mean, by your own analogy, you could just like sit back and just have life handed to him. But he's actually doing the extra work beyond and above. So for his circumstances, he's actually working really hard. And you just hand wave that away like, oh, it's just something that's handed to him or something. He didn't have to do any of that.
Well, what do you expect?
I don't know, but I still want to. I'm like I said, I'm just dying to know what happens with this kid who at the hotel room and all that.
Young Zhao, author and professor of education measurement policy and leadership, cites a Yale University study that groups the abilities of high school students. All of the students are placed into 5 groups.
Okay.
High practical, high analytical, high creative, high in all 3, or low in all 3.
Oh, okay. So different learning styles. All right. Well, that's interesting. At least it doesn't take into account sort of, skin color or gender or something, but okay.
And the results of this study overwhelmingly show that those students who score high analytical are white, middle class, and from strong educational backgrounds.
Okay. Well, we got there eventually, I guess. So white people think more, I guess.
I got nothing.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say to that one. I might circle make something about race, sex, etc. for no reason here pretty quick, though.
Those who score high practical and high creative are from much more diverse backgrounds in terms of ethnicity, socioeconomic status, and educational background.
White people aren't creative.
That's racist.
Little bit.
The problem is the only type of ability that's really valued by our education system is that high analytical ability that's generally correlated with problem solving in math and languages.
Well, not knowing the extent of this study, I guess that's probably true. But of course, no one who's creative ever gets through high school, as we know. I guess. I don't know. Is that also sort of why you chose those 2 examples specifically? You have somebody who's in a lower socioeconomic situation going towards a more creative / artistic career versus someone who's going for a more mechanical / science-based career. Interesting. Model which is described by list was used. That's true. She did list off all the different kinds of learning. So a list.
I told you it was coming.
No, I didn't disbelieve you. Okay, got that. I'm going to circle make something about race, sex, etc. for no reason. I mean, she was on the right track talking about abstracts of human ability, but then she had to reduce it down to race because why? I don't know.
When I walk into a classroom and hand
really
every
close to privilege too.
We'll see if she says it. I mean,
she has to say it.
Well, see, so there's some relatively firm rules about the bingo card. Okay. They either have to, and I'm trying to winnow the bingo card to a perfected state as time goes on. The bingo card represents things that actually occur within the content of the presentation. So if they say the word privilege, if they bring up the school to prison pipeline, or they get as close as you possibly could to talking about the thing without actually saying the word or saying the phrase, that point it is a judgment call. And I've stretched the looseness of the rules on that several times in the past. But I always wait and see, okay, if they never say the word privilege, in the aggregate of what they were talking about, were they effectively talking about privilege? Now, so far, talking about how, the kid that's provided everything, it's just provided for them. Okay. If we get to the end of the talk and she hasn't said the word privileged, I'll probably circle it because that was effectively talking about privilege.
I mean, it's right there. You just got to get the criteria.
Right. Yeah. And so if they don't outright say a thing or allude to a thing or demonstrate a thing, whatever's on the square, I at least wait until the end of the presentation to see what do we have on review. And then I ask the chat, is there anything that you guys think I should be circling or shouldn't have circled, or maybe I missed something, because God knows I talk enough during these things I can miss things. So that's the dynamics and worked out so far. Thank you, Drew W. I can't wait till she advocates for getting rid of standardized testing that government requires. I imagine it's coming. And thank you, Tim Tegerud. Oh my God, I'm gonna screw this up. Tegerud. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. No comment, but I appreciate it. Let me know how to pronounce your name. I don't want to. I hate screwing up people's names if I can help it. So tell me how to pronounce that, because I want to make sure I get it right. All right.
Every student in my classroom, one uniform assignment. I'm giving everybody in there a size 10 pair of shoes.
The shoes thing, lady, it really isn't working.
She wrote that down and was like, "Oh, this is perfect."
Yeah, the shoes thing really isn't working.
Those shoes may fit a few students, but it's not going to fit the majority of students.
Then they need to be in different classrooms or something. I don't know, lady. I don't know what you mean to say here. You present them with the right material. If you're not engaging with your students individually and allowing for whatever you can, I mean, I understand a lot of teachers are constrained by the school rules and the guidelines and so on and so forth. But in your prime examples so far, the most glaring issue you haven't even talked about is the kids' home life, which I think, again, that situation supersedes any considerations for what homework they have right now. So if you don't come back to that, I'm shaking my finger at her. If you don't come back to that, I am circling that square, young lady.
Yeah, you best.
You. All right.
What I should be doing is walking into a classroom and giving a student an assignment that supports that student's talents, abilities, and goals.
Delta for $1. White people have no creativity. Also, we forgot to talk about that VR Souls game. Yeah, I know. I had a jump yesterday, but I'll be around to chat later.
Let's see. Tim says, Kroner's Swedish currency is about 10. Thank you so much, Tim. I appreciate that. I just want to make sure I get your last name pronounced correct if I can. Yeah, I'm not going to try it. I'll screw it up again. Okay, so you want to craft assignments based on that person's, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, how do you craft a math assignment around that? How do you craft a language studies around that? The basics, reading, writing, arithmetic. I mean, there are some basic skills that need to be taught and then confirm that they've been retained in some fashion. What are you going to do about mathematics? What are you going to do about language? Are you going to just give people, you're going to fail kids who can't do math, but somehow weight higher the areas they are good in, like art or something? How do you do that as a general studies teacher in an elementary or high school? Well, elementary school specifically, high school has subjects. So what I don't even know what she teaches. She's talking about 15-year-olds, I think in junior high. So
that's got to be probably freshman in high school.
Yeah, so if she's teaching at a high school, she's teaching maybe 1 or 2 specific subjects. And if you're teaching a specific subject, I don't know how you craft different assignments based on each kid's learning style to that kind of granularity. A lot of things here that don't make any sense. I'm going to be circling leaves out vital context eventually.
That's providing equity in the classroom.
No. Well, I mean, I suppose providing equity in that if you give each student a different thing and you weight them all the same, except that if you switched papers from one student to the other and one would fly through it and the other one would struggle with it, yeah, that's equity, as in equality of outcome. That's not equality of opportunity. In fact, that is benevolent condescension. You're going to be assessing kids on their ability to get done something else based on a whole bunch of other factors that you either know about or don't know about. What if you don't know about the personal life of a particular student? What if they don't decide not to share that with you? What then? How are you going to assess what their abilities are at that point? Are you going to do you test all of your students in your high school or junior high for their learning aptitudes ahead of time? How does this work in a regular school day? Thank you, Ham and Beans. I guarantee some kids have figured out her game and pretend to be stupid so they get easier assignments. Yeah.
It gotta be.
And thank you, Delta Cross. Google censored me. Ask Sinatra for the message. Oh, okay, Sinatra.
Wait, what?
I think Delta Cross sent you a donation on Streamlabs or something and has a message.
It's on Discord.
Oh.
Standardized education fucks those above and below the standard. Change my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it can. I mean, I'm not saying that, like I say, having the same expectations of students, but adjusting what you can as a teacher to allow, if you know the situation of a kid or you notice that they're struggling or something, recommending a tutor, giving them a little extra time. I mean, there's lots of little things you can do. But at the end of the day, it's not the teacher's job to solve that kid's life. Where are the parents? That's what PTA conferences are for. And in the case of the kid that's living in a hotel room, I'd be getting social services involved if I knew that was going on.
Yeah, that's bad.
Tim says, well, even here, no one can pronounce my last name, so don't bother. It means train yard in the old speech. Tim Trainyard? Dude, you sound like something like a 1940s like a mobster or something.
Yeah. It's train yard Tim.
It's train yard. Here comes train yard. He pulls through here like a locomotive. All right. Well, thank you, Delta Cross. All right. So moving on. If I can hit the little play button.
I have a lot of colleagues who are going to say, oh, no, absolutely not. They have to meet the standard. How are you going to grade them? And I certainly do not have time to create 30 assignments in one day.
Are you catching a little southern drawl there?
A little bit. I mean, this is I believe it said it was South Carolina this is taking place in. So it would not be surprising. So many other educators say no. That's what I was getting to just a second ago. It's like, how do the mechanics of this work if you are a teacher who is more likely than not underpaid, under-resourced, underfunded, and with a limited amount of time in their day to manage as many kids as you probably do? And if you're in a junior high or high school, you have a rotating gallery of kids every day, a couple hundred maybe, depending. So yeah, how do you do this? How do you manage this on a kid-to-kid basis, analyzing each and every one of their life circumstances?
I understand that.
Do you?
But I also understand that the core business of a teacher is to provide students with the tools that they need to succeed, not to provide them grades.
I mean, yes, but you're only part of that equation. Where are the parents? I mean, in this entire thing, she hasn't brought up once any kind of, symbiosis with the parents at all. She's talked about the home life, but it is a team effort, and I appreciate parents who take a direct interest in their kids' education. I mean, God knows you should. My parents did. I hope more parents do.
That they should be involved.
Yeah, they should be involved, and the teacher should engage with the parents because, like I said, education is a symbiotic effort, especially in the early years. After that, once they become a full-grown adult, they're on their own, effectively. So why is she not talking about communicating with the parents, working with the parents to improve the kid's situation? You're not an island. There's so many teachers that put themselves in this position of, I am the end-all, be-all of these kids' futures, and set themselves on some like pedestal, higher plane of existence, and never talk about the kids. It happens so many times in these TEDx talks when I'm watching a teacher. They never bring up the kids, especially in the school to prison pipeline stuff. They never talk about the role of the parents in that stuff.
So in order to close that achievement gap and to promote success for every student, those are the steps we have to take.
Did I miss the steps?
The list earlier?
Was that it? So crafting assignments per kid. Okay, well, all right, whatever. Those are the steps. How do you affect this in your everyday as a teacher? You still haven't answered that part. I mean, the other teacher's going like, there's no way I can craft 36 or whatever individual lesson plans for every kid and monitor them, et cetera, et cetera. How does this happen? How does this utopian ideal how do you arrive at that? Thank you, John Miller. So give them a chainsaw and let them go. Let's see how that ends.
Oh, the kids? I'd be down for that.
Yeah, especially if it's a woodworking class. Ba-dum-bum.
Young Zhao says also that the consequences of equality in education could be a situation where the government has to provide more social services but lacks a revenue stream to do so.
What? Huh? Okay, first off, this one author she's talking about sounds like it must be her Bible.
Yeah, that seems pretty ridiculous.
I gotta listen. I gotta hear that again. I'm confuzzled.
Of equality in education could be a situation where the government has to provide more social services but lacks a revenue stream to do so.
Equality of education could end up in a scenario where the government has to provide more social services but lacks the revenue stream to do. What? What does that mean? I hope in the next breath she explains what the hell that means, because okay.
Or tensions between skilled and unskilled, rich and poor, reach revolutionary levels.
Well, you would love that, wouldn't you? I mean, you're talking about equality of outcome. You're talking about communal fortunes. I don't know if there's another sort of word for a communal society where everything is doled out equally and everyone gets exactly what they deserve all the time, according to the state. Isn't there a term for that? I don't know. Thank you, Delta Cross. Why are Google such bitchy fox that they won't let me say what I ducking want? They're looking out for the virgin eyes of their audience. That's what it is. Don't worry, guys. They're from the government. Or sorry, Google. Trust them.
They've got your back.
They got your back.
On an individual level, students face this increasing negative self-concept based on the fact that they can't fit into the norms that are being placed upon them.
I am Confucian.
Thank you, Megan Ring. So the state should replace the parents. Got it. Again, where are the parents? Nothing in here so far except for talking about the adults occupying the hotel room. Whether or not any of them are the kids' parents, I don't know. Nothing about that. Nothing about the important and necessary and unavoidable factor of the parents in a kid's education. Now, of course, if a kid's in a situation who doesn't have any parents, that's a completely different subject. But doesn't even bring that up. And she's talking in general terms, but she's given us 2 examples, and she hasn't gone beyond that. Also, I'm circling mind reading assumes motives. Because she knows how all kids think, how all kids feel, and so on and so forth. Because she's read all the research, right? All the research of that one book so far.
Self-discrepancy happens when your idea of yourself doesn't match the outcomes that you receive.
Self-discrepancy. Your image of yourself does not match the outcomes you receive. Okay. All right. Sounds psychological, but all right.
So a student that already has a positive self-concept but receives negative outcomes in the form of grades, test scores, or emotional feedback from teachers is going to have a discrepancy in their actual and ideal self.
Or they're a narcissistic, self-centered jerk.
Yeah. She just seems to think that all children are fucking kind of assholes.
Well, no, children from privilege are assholes.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Inherently. Anybody who starts out with advantages over anybody else for whatever reason is going to have an overblown sense of self-confidence. And then, or like I just said, someone who's got a really great sense of their self, but then they get lousy grades and everything else. Well, then either the kid has a great sense of self-confidence and the teacher's getting vengeance on them. But I'm sure this lady would never do something like that.
Oh, no.
Or the kid is a self-centered, overconfident, arrogant kid, and their sense of self does not align with their actual skills. Or you have a kid who has self-confidence, whether they're rich or poor or otherwise, and the material is just too much for them, or that's not their strength or something. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of different scenarios that could go into that lady. But you seem like, again, okay, leaves out vital context. I'm finally going to circle that one because it's just like, this is just ridiculous that she's going for this God of the Gap stuff. I'm going to give you a scenario where things are unequal and just let you fill in the blanks by yourself.
Sorry,
thank you.
Did you circle?
Leaves out vital context.
Oh.
Thank you, Lycan King 018. She's making herself the savior of the story by treating all the other adult influences in her students' lives as auxiliary. She's not even mentioning the other adult influences in the kid's life. It's just the kids and the universe she creates for them so far. She is the ultimate arbiter of their fate as a teacher. She gives them the tools to succeed. Not their parents, not the kids themselves. She does.
What happens in this case is that student develops dissatisfaction, disappointment, and low self-esteem.
Yeah, the operative term in self-esteem is self. I don't know if she knows that.
Right now in the United States, 21% or 10.9 million school children live below the poverty line.
Wait, is she not wearing shoes?
Oh, is she?
I don't know that we'll ever be able to tell, but either they're like really light shoes or she's not wearing shoes. No, actually, they must be shoes. The skin tone would be different. I was just wondering, given her a shoe analogy earlier, I wonder if she like didn't wear shoes on stage to underscore that somehow in some performance art kind of way.
And those students show up to school every day with additional challenges and increasingly negative self-concept because they can't fit into the standards that society expects them to fit into.
I'm just going to start repeating myself. You're making some grand assumptions about things. You're not including the parents in any of this, and she's basically said kids who are not white are immediately undervalued, underprivileged. So I can only imagine how she approaches students in her own classroom, or even assesses herself, all things considered.
We have to embrace equity and move away from inequality.
You haven't made that argument.
In order to change the situation.
You haven't made that argument.
I read a status on social media from one of my students. It said, I'm proud of myself. I was expelled from school twice, almost 3 times, I'm sad to say.
Expelled?
Why are you proud?
Well, maybe the outcome is different, but okay. Expelled from school twice. I mean, so you've been expelled from 2 different schools. Because I don't think you get back into a school once you've been expelled from it.
That would be an interesting twist.
That would be, okay. So expelled twice. Sorry, I got to back up a little bit. I cut her off.
Myself.
Okay.
I was expelled from school twice, almost 3 times, I'm sad to say. I almost gave up. I didn't care anymore. But something told me to keep going. Now I'm in a new school. I have a 3.6 GPA. And I'm starting college classes in the fall.
So the kid got their act together.
That's what it sounds like.
Is the end of the story going to be, and it's all thanks to Dr. Ott?
Huh. And that
I am proud
child
of me.
was Barack Obama.
Students like this student are why I teach.
Well, wait a second. Wait a second. This kid, you mentioned nothing about this kid's socioeconomic situation, whatever. This kid was obviously a problem child, expelled twice. I mean, maybe you can argue in the first instance that it was some unjust outcome or something, but 2 different schools, almost 3, expelling a kid. Yeah, no, this kid was screwed up, but they got their act together. They reformed themselves, put themselves through the crucible, and came out better for it on the end. Good for that kid. They took the initiative. Okay. It wasn't some teacher. Well, I don't know if it was a teacher. He said, I'm proud of myself. Like, okay, this kid was self-initiating. Good. Great. What the hell does that have to do with the equality of education or equity of outcome? Well, what does that have to do with anything? Her analogies and anecdotes here are just bewilderingly incomplete. I'd be scared to have her as a teacher at this point.
Providing equity and opportunity for this student and every student like this student are why we absolutely must abandon standardized talent sorting education and immediately embrace individualized talent developing education.
You didn't show. No.
Why are we applauding her? Don't do that.
That was your concluding example. A kid who, the only information we have is what you told us. So I'm existing within your world. A kid who was expelled 2.5 times or whatever. A kid who was expelled 2.5 times. A kid. Like I said, got their act together, pushed themselves to improve, and is now getting ready for college. How is that an example of the failure of an equality education model, as you call it, versus an equity education model? Does it say? It says nothing about it.
I think part of this is that she is so fucking boring nobody can retain a thing she says, because you could ask me anything about the talk she just gave, and I couldn't tell you a single goddamn thing about it. So I wonder if that has something to do with her teaching.
Well, I'm bewildered, especially about that first story. What did you do about the kid living in the hotel room? I mean, in that example, I would not blame her for not having any parents to work with, especially if the situation was so chaotic as that. But what did you do as a teacher who's trying to look out for the outcome and the welfare of your kids? Did you go to social services? Did you engage with the parents in any particular way? Did you find out what the hell's going on? I don't know.
Scribe, you know that's difficult and a lot of work to do, and being a teacher is supposed to be easy.
Which is why she's crafting 36 individual lesson plan for 36 individual students based on their cognitive abilities. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Well, let's go over the bingo card one more time before we get on to chat and the other arguments. Attempt to coin new buzzword, buzz phrase. I mean, okay, here's my question. Have I ever heard the phrase equity education used specifically before? She's used it a lot in this. Or equity education model. I mean, I've heard about equity in schools, etc. Equity education as a phrase. Does that count? I don't know. All right.
We'll sit on it.
We'll sit on that one. Systemic institutional. Well, she talked about the educational system. And if she didn't say system specifically, she was talking about the institutions, etc. of education. Patriarchy, no. Plays victim. No, she never plays the victim of anything.
She kind of praised herself a lot during that.
Yeah, there was a lot of self-congratulations. A wage gap. She didn't get into the wages. She got into economic circumstances, but not wages. Childhood or family anecdote. She never talked about herself. So,
but she talked about other people's childhood.
That one specifically is about their personal frame of reference. Anecdote that probably never happened. Nothing she said sounded.
I don't know. That last one sounded like it might not have ever happened. I got kicked out of school twice.
You think?
I'm just cynical, but that's just me. It's your scorecard.
You see, the fact that it so utterly fails to prove anything of the point that she was trying to make makes me think that she invested in someone else's comment a meaning that wasn't actually there, which lends me to think that it's probably true, but she's decided to project onto it something that didn't actually exist.
Okay.
She's really proud to use that as some example that doesn't actually use an example of anything.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
That's my rationale. School to prison pipeline. She never brought up prison or anything. Privilege in the aggregate. She was talking about privilege. She was talking about kids that have home life versus this, white kids, etc. She brought that.
I'm gonna circle it.
Yeah. White supremacy. She didn't go that far. You can make the argument that she was alluding to it there and here and there, but I mean. Yeah. Okay. Well, toxic. No. Microaggressions and conscious bias. I mean, she might possess some herself, given what she's brought up, but she didn't talk about it. Self-vilification or wretchedness. No, she never denigrated herself. She's very proud of herself. Marginalization. I mean, you could stretch and say when she started talking about the different groups and the gap itself is sort of indicating a marginalized communities or marginalized demographics.
Yeah, I'm going to circle it on my end.
Yeah, I'll go for that. I mean, like I said, in aggregate, I wouldn't argue with that one. Feminism, no, she didn't really bring up gender, I recall, except for referencing students. Takes credit for something done experienced by others in the demographic. I mean, no, in the sense that she wasn't saying like, I've benefited from the years of slavery that imposed by white people like me. She didn't do anything like that. Mm-hmm. But like I said, she was projecting some kind of, I don't know, success story on that one social media post. Melodramatic pausing for effect. There was at the end there, when she was talking about that Twitter post or whatever, she did seem to choke up a little bit.
I did it.
Yeah, I mean, even if I circle it, we're not going to get a bingo. It's going to be really hard to, it's going to be really hard to convince me of a bingo in this situation, even if I circle that one. But I'll take arguments from the chat. Let's see. Asian Hippie says, we need you to team up with Drunkle next, Scribling. Yeah, no, that's never happening. Brad Young, I'm having the Sanute special for dinner tonight. Any guesses? I don't know. What's the Sanute special?
Steak.
Oh, what kind of steak? Or how do you prepare it?
I prefer a ribeye, medium rare, with that Longhorn seasoning on it. That's the shit.
Let's see. Just Another Smith says, Hotel Kid was false. She would have talked more about how she saved them. There's nothing about the anecdote in and of itself that tells me that it was false. Now, if she had gone on to say that she became the grand savior of this kid and was like the end all be all to that kid's well-being, I might have doubts, but she just threw it out there. And truth be told, that scenario, at least the aspects of it, are things that I have known to occur in people I've grown up with. So I can't say that that was a false story or a false anecdote. And she didn't aggrandize it beyond. I mean, she should have told us what happened, but she didn't dwell on it. So I don't know. What do you think?
I have my doubts that it's real, and if it did, I bet it happened to somebody else, but not enough to circle it.
Yeah, you see, the anecdote that probably never happened. I mean, the classic example is, I was watching the news the other day, and I saw this story about Donald Trump, and then my 5-year-old walked in and asked, "Why are the Democrats so unable to pass anything through the House, Mother?" It's like that. It's like
my fair mother, I must inquire as to why the Democratic Party is unable to pass a bill to help marginalize.
Yeah. The anecdote that probably never happened has to be one of those. It's either too good to be true or so perfect to the speaker's point, or elements of it just don't sound like they jive, like the 5-year-old talking like a college professor, that kind of stuff. So yeah, nothing about what she said was blatantly, that sounds beyond the ken of reality. Her theory or conclusion is certainly, but that's
that's a different story.
Yeah. Karin, seems like anyone who can put two words together can get an opportunity to get up there and spew out nonsense. It's the perfect platform for the participation trophy crowd. Well, this is why I like TEDx. And I mean that in a very twisted way. The bar for entry is relatively low in the sense that each one of these events is put on by a local group community. They set their own standards and so on, which means that, ordinary people like TED Talks classically have a relatively high bar of admission, although that bar is becoming fuzzier by the day as I watch TED Talks. But you get the elite, more or less. On the TEDx side, you have people who are just normal people, aren't necessarily big names on marquees or something. But you also get people who exist and operate within the common level of most of the population. So you get like high school teachers, you get local politicians, you get small business people or academics and so on. And you kind of get a read on what is the current thinking from people who actually influence. Like this lady teaches students. For better or worse, probably worse, she teaches students at local school or something. Okay. So she, as a non-marquee individual, is just one example of a trend amongst many teachers. Not all, because she talked about how she got pushback from her own colleagues, but she represents something that is going on behind the scenes at the ground level. And you only hear about this stuff on the fringe, and TEDx is effectively the fringe of zeitgeist, common wisdom, and so on these days. And it is a platform that has a variety of voices. And so that's why looking at the same subject from 7 different speakers is always so interesting, because I never know what they're going to say next. The guy we watched yesterday about toxic masculinity, I had never heard such a preposterous viewpoint, not only on toxic masculinity, but how to manage it. And I've watched God knows how many videos and essays on toxic masculinity over the last 4 years. And those of you that follow my channel, that's true. So to be surprised and dumbfounded by somebody, not only is it entertaining, not only is it depressing, but I'm glad to have heard it because now I have an extra little point of reference for what are they going to think of next?
I think I'm going to have to watch this one.
Dude, I did not expect it because when I see toxic masculinity, I expect, at this point, there's sort of a boilerplate presentation in my head. Like somebody's going to talk about toxic masculinity. There's like, oh, they're going to talk about this, they're going to talk about this. So I didn't think it would be boring per se because I don't know before I watch these things. But where he went and the examples he brought up, I was like, what the fuck, dude? Anyway, so that's here. Let me bring up the bingo card because this is what I've got, guys. You can give me arguments elsewise. I don't know if you're going to convince me to circle anything else at this point, but there's always the possibility. So if you have any other comments, you have any other questions or anything for me or Sinatra, put them in the chat now. Sinatra, on the very off chance anybody here does not know who you are or where to find you, what do you do and what are you up to?
Political commentary mostly. I talk a lot of shit. I do 2 streams a week, but one gets deleted immediately afterward. So if you don't watch it, you don't get to watch it. I do creepypastas, and it's about it. I have a video coming out tomorrow morning.
And I did forget to put links to Sinatra's stuff in the description. That was my oversight. If you search him on YouTube, you'll find him immediately. I will put links after this, so those of you watching in the future should find links to his channels right away. Let's see. So Assassin of the Grey Scribelite. This is why I refuse to accept any of these anecdotes / hypotheticals because they are always too good to be true for the propaganda these self-righteous moral busybodies put out. It's possible. It's possible that everything she brought up was just, I'm going to think of the worst possible disparity situation between 2 students I can think of or have ever heard of and just put them out there. But again, I can only operate with the information provided to me and my sense of the speaker's credibility, let's say, in the moment. And yeah, she might have been making it up. She might have been referencing things that she heard from another teacher. It's entirely possible. Are they false? Are they crafted specifically to promote her idea versus someone else's? No, because even in the 2 examples she brought up, the 2 kids have 2 different home lives, 2 different opportunity sets, let's say. She never talked about the outcomes of those kids. What happened to them? Did one achieve and the other didn't? She never followed up. She never gave us context to know, is her theory correct? Was there any other factors involved? If this was her own students, did she do anything? What did she do differently for those 2 students? She talked at length about how you have to modulate the lesson plan per the kid's situation. Okay, how did you treat the kid who was going for the environmental engineering degree versus the kid that was going for the cosmetology certificate? How did you do that? She never gave us the nuts and bolts. She talked in grand terms, never talked about the mechanics of it, which means that she's more an idealist than she is an idea person, which can be fine depending on the circumstances. But in this case, she's expecting something to just happen because she says so without doing the work to get there, which, that's that whole equality of opportunity versus equity of outcome thing.
Do you think she's married?
Well, I mean, I can look back and see if I saw
see if you see a ring.
A ring on her finger, yeah. But for the sake of argument, let's say that she is. What would you say?
Ted, how does she have a conversation with her husband that he can retain anything? Because I'm being dead ass serious. If you asked me to repeat one thing she said besides the hotel room, I don't think I could remember. Her words were so empty.
Yeah, I mean, she made no points. She didn't come to any kind of grand conclusion. Let's see, her fingers. I do not see a ring. So, barring that she just doesn't wear a ring or something, there is no wedding ring on her finger. So, I would be morbidly curious to know how she actually manages a classroom. How does she teach the lesson? What specifically does she teach? I'm sure it can be looked up, but and what is the success rate of her own students? And on and on. There's a whole bunch of questions I have because when you have someone who supposedly stands in front of an audience and presents information for a living, my expectations are a little higher than just Joe Schmo off the street who's got an idea. So as an assessment of her as an educator, this is a poor example.
Yeah, this is, and she's probably going to use this as part of her resume.
Oh yeah, I did a TEDx talk. Oh yeah, sure. And granted, guys, this talk was recorded in 2016. I didn't know it was that old at the time that I posted. I got it. I'm not even sure. Sometimes, and this is the thing, sometimes TEDx will post talks like today that were recorded long ago, and I won't know it till I start watching it. So I can't recall when this was posted, but when it was recorded is old. And I try to get things that are more recent because I want to hear the latest thinking on a particular subject. Let's see. Colleen Bernier says she could be married to a woman or a deaf person.
Yeah,
I suppose.
I got a little bit of breaking news as of about an hour and a half ago.
Okay.
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are calling for a nationwide mask mandate. I don't know why it matters that they're doing it, but
great. I call for a nationwide redistribution of resources to get the Dr. Pepper factory up and running again.
Fair.
I mean, and you know what? My saying that carries about as much weight as Biden and Harris saying what they said. So there you go. That one sort of Satania, her anecdote literally showed us how the current system made the students stop slacking and improve, while she was using it as an example of why she does what she does, which is fight against it. Well, the kid, I mean, like I said, from her own anecdote, it sounded like the kid took some initiative and changed their life for themselves and improved their situation from whatever was going on in their expulsions previous. It didn't say anything about the educational style they were receiving. It didn't say anything about the teacher. Didn't say anything about equality of opportunity versus equality of outcome. So that was the dumb. I mean, if I had a square on here for just dumb, I would have circled that at the end there. But
can I make a suggestion for a square?
Certainly.
Empty.
What do you mean empty?
Like the words they're saying or the person themselves are just empty, and only their personality traits are their political standpoint or sexual orientation.
So like weightless argument or something like that.
Yeah, just empty words, empty person.
Okay, and I'll explain to you why I'm hesitating.
Okay.
It's not perfect, but I'm trying to eliminate as much from the bingo card that is subjective. Okay, an empty argument versus a bad argument. You know, someone saying, "Oh, they're," you know, yeah. I mean. Okay, I'll think about it. But then the question would become, what do I take off the card?
Let's take a look-see poo.
Yeah,
let me pull it back up because yours cuts off.
Mm-hmm. I can't do anything about that, guys. Once the StreamYard deals with the aspect ratio, once I put something up, I apologize. Can't do anything about it.
Man, these are so good though.
Well, this is like the 7th or 8th iteration. This has been refined down to get things that are common factors seen in TEDx's or, you know, behaviors by TEDx talkers. So yeah, it's going to be tough if we're going to replace something, because a lot of them are pretty on point at this stage of the game.
If I had to pick one, it would be attempt to coin a new buzzword.
Now, see, that one was put in because I always talked about how there are a lot of TEDx's are used by the speakers to try to promote some new idea or concept of theirs. The most classic example, of course, being white fragility. Robin DiAngelo has leveraged that singular phrase and all the nonsense that she's been able to reverse engineer out of it into a ridiculous career. And there are lots of people out there trying to create that next cool, buzzy concept that turns into a career. Like what was it? Diversity debt. Have you heard of diversity debt?
I have not.
Yeah. Okay. Diversity debt. I've done 2 videos on this. Well, the first one was a TEDx about talking about diversity debt. The other one was a sort of like mini British news program thing on it. And you know what the one common factor is amongst both of them, even though it's different time periods and different countries talking about them?
What's that?
They never define what it means. And I'm not even kidding. Never, ever. They use the phrase and they give quote unquote examples of what it means, but they never actually tell us how it works, how you measure it, anything. It's just one of those things. So in that case, you know, I'd circle that. But fine, I don't know.
pausing for a gratuitous effect.
I don't know. Chat.
That one's good though.
Chat, what do you guys think? And I'm not going to be able to get to everybody's comment here, but tweet me. Tweet me, tag it with TEDXcellence, hashtag TEDXcellence, and let me know what you think. Is there room to take one of those two squares off at either corner? Gratuitous pausing for effect or attempt to coin new buzzword, buzz phrase? And what would be the most objective way to evaluate a empty, weightless argument that we could put on the card so that we wouldn't spend too much time debating? That's the one thing. I just want to be able to circle something.
I think I could objectify it a little bit more.
Okay.
If a person goes as a black person, as LGBT, as this, as that, as trans, as a Democrat, that would be political affiliation or skin color as a personality trait.
So put in something like, quote, as a ... unquote argument.
Uh-huh.
All right. So, okay. Well, chat, again, let me know what you think. Tweet me about it or leave comments in the video here. I'll see those too. But on Twitter, put the hashtag TEDXcellence so I can see it and know where to find them. I'd be curious to know what you guys thought. Like I say, the bingo card is an evolving entity, but we're refining it towards perfection to represent as wide a range of things that we see in TEDx.
I just noticed that's a dog cat fox in the free space.
Yes, dog cat fox. Yes, the most perfect pet in the world, and genetically engineered to live on the moon in perfect harmony.
Wonderful.
Yes. Okay, a couple more things from chat, and then we will wrap it up, guys, because I got to have some lunch. I'm hungry. Some Namnul Nation, hello. Combines self-vilification and plays victim. No, those are two completely different concepts. Saying like, as a white person, I understand that I have a role in repairing generational racism. Okay, that's self-vilification. That's not necessarily playing a victim. That's elevating yourself to savior status. Okay, so you can do two different things. So you got to keep those separate. You can do both in the same sentence, sure, but not necessarily are they combined as one thing. And I made that mistake with combining privilege with white supremacy, because those are two different things.
Yeah,
or can be brought up in two different ways. Let's see. And Assassin the Gray says combine childhood anecdote / never happened. No, because a childhood or family anecdote is often used as a point of reference for why they think the way they do, whereas an anecdote that probably never happened is usually meant to shore up their argument when they don't have any basis for it.
Now, the only two I could say are combinable is patriarchy and privilege.
People can talk about privilege, white privilege, and never bring up patriarchy.
Shut up.
I'm sorry, patriarchy specifically. Yeah, patriarchy is a very specific term talking about a very specific thing. Like male privilege, if somebody says male privilege, I might be inclined to, or if somebody says a male-dominated society with male privilege, then I would feel comfortable circling both. But you can have one and not the other mentioned in a talk. We've already seen that many times. Yeah, fair. And I'm not trying to shoot you down. Just saying, this is what we have right now. It's pretty good. I'm willing to, open up some doors for revision, but just saying.
Yeah, I just thought I'd throw one out there.
No, it's fine. I appreciate it.
Feminism and patriarchy, those two do kind of go hand in hand.
I mean, the idea of patriarchy as a conspiracy theory over everything is a part of feminist thinking. But if I'm not mistaken, we just had, he did bring up feminism, but he mentioned patriarchy absent talking about feminism in the last talk. That's possible. Okay. Anyway, chat, give me your ideas in the comments. Send me your ideas in the Twitter feeds.
We're keeping Scribe from his eats.
That's true. That's true too. And also, I'm sure Sinatra's got other stuff to do. But Sinatra, where can people find you next? Do you have a stream coming up at AAA or something?
AAA tomorrow evening at 5:30 Eastern, the only relevant time zone, and a video tomorrow morning.
All right. And over here on Left Coast is the Best Coast. If you'd like to hear more from me or Ranting Monkey or Satsu 2 Cents. You can find all three of us tonight on Satsu 2 Cents' channel at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern for Lords of the Night, where we'll talk about the news of the day, news stories that you submit, what we've been up to on the intertubes, and then your questions and comments. Anything else you'd like to mention before we go, Sinatra?
No. Kiverdam keeps asking if I showed Drunkle his little cameo on Tucker Tuesday. Yes, I did. I showed him last night on Latin.
Excellent. Yes, Sinatra and Drunkle made a last-minute guest appearance on the show last night, much to my surprise. Especially my ears surprised when Drunkle appeared in and just about broke my eardrums. Like,
Don't make fun of me voice.
Yeah, with this hyacinth bouquet freaking like falsetto going on. But anyway, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you for your participation. Those of you who donated, thank you so much for your generosity. Sinatra, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join me for this little adventure.
Thank you for having me. Sorry I ran a little bit late, but I made it.
Yeah, life's life. It's cool. Everyone, I hope you are all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care, guys.
Later,
Bye-bye.
chat.
Bye.